Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard, and I've stepped out of the studio to meet with the managing director of ESPN Star Sports, Manu Sawhney, and he is in Mumbai, of course, because this city is hosting the final of the ICC Cricket World Cup. And what a World Cup it has been, Manu Sawhney.
Truly,
Are you as happy as you should be?
I think happier.
Because TAM data has just come in,
Right.
and I think it says 22.076 metros. That's the average rating.
You're absolutely right. The TAM data just came in a few hours back for the India-Pakistan match. The average rating of ESS and DD put together is about 25.2. And more importantly, the peak rating is 39.9, that's 40. That is, I mean, we were thinking of it being about 30, 35. 40 is definitely way above the expectations.
Right.
And Anuradha, I think you will also recognize this, for the India-Pakistan match, there was a huge amount of out-of-home viewing.
That's true.
I mean, if you look at
which has not got accounted for.
Absolutely. So, you look at the functions that people had in Maidans and cinema halls. My sense is that close to about maybe 15 to 20% may have got underreported just because of the huge out-of-home viewing that this match got.
Right. The peak rating that you mentioned, 39, right?
0.9, actually 40, yeah.
About 40. I was speaking to media buyers, and they are all excited by the peak rating, even for the quarterfinal, India-Australia, which is 26, I think, 26.35.
The India-Australia got a peak rating of 30, 30.6. And look, I mean, I think this in terms of just setting the records, has been humongous. I mean, you look at India-Australia match, it had an average rating of 16.5 with a peak of 30.5. You look at India-England, which was a tie, which has
Are you giving me a combined average?
Combined.
Okay.
Combined
right.
of
So
that.
Doordarshan and
yes,
Star.
because we're just looking at all the matches which were simulcasted on that.
Right.
So if you look at the India versus England, you're looking at 15.2. Then you look at India versus South Africa, you're looking at 13.5. So overall, all the India matches put together have averaged about 12.7, which is phenomenal. I think the interesting part, Anuradha, has been the reach. Even till the 46th match, and this is the national reach, and I'm not including India-Pakistan, you've hit 171.3 million viewers.
Right.
And to give you a perspective, in 2007, in West Indies, it was 113 million viewers.
Right.
So it's gone up by 50%.
What is the reason for it?
I think, and we've also looked at the reason from a country perspective, and we said India, and then you look at IPL 3, which happened last year. And IPL 3 across 60 matches delivered an overall reach of 143 million. So at 171.3 million, I think the factors that we see are, one, the fact that it is in India. Secondly, we've always maintained that a World Cup is truly a World Cup. It is defining an iconic event. And it's not, I mean, the rivalries between the countries are at a far different level than what they are. And I think this tournament has been a dream in terms of just the sheer matches. If you see the quality of the matches, you've had ties, you've had upsets, you've had close finishes.
But Manu, a lot of people actually felt that the tournament did not have as much of a buzz in the initial stages at all.
The fact of the matter is you need to recognize this was spread over 3 countries. It wasn't just in one country. You need to also recognize the fact that it was across multiple venues. It wasn't kind of, in one city or in 4 cities. You were looking at 19 venues in terms of how it all kind of collated itself together. And frankly, of a tournament which is running for close to about 6 to 7 weeks, you do expect it to kind of build up to where it is. But even Anuradha, you look at the games, you had Pakistan versus Sri Lanka game which rated a 4.6. You had a Pakistan versus Netherlands game which rated a 3.6. I mean, these are phenomenal ratings. And then you had surprises like Ireland beating England, which suddenly got everybody together.
The next match, I think, got a lot. The next Ireland match got a lot of interest.
And then you had India-Ireland had a peak rating of as much as India-England. Right? And you had the chicken dance, and suddenly things started picking up, and then you had England defeating South Africa. So it all kind of got to be a pretty good
and
tournament.
You were confident about this when we spoke even before the tournament began,
yes,
isn't it? So
absolutely I was.
The tournament is playing out the way you expected it to.
Look, I think it'll be fair to say that despite our realistic and positive outlook, I think the tournament has done better than what we had expected. I think it will be a historic tournament from various factors by the time this tournament finishes, in terms of reach, in terms of ratings, in terms of the play out even on the digital scale. We had 3 million video streams, which was the highest video streams ever in the country. And little did we realize that 3 days later for India, Australia, we would have jumped from 3 million to 8 million video streams.
Was the semi-final between India and Pakistan the real final? The question, to put it in your language, is do you see 22.07 getting breached in the India-Sri Lanka final when the numbers finally come in?
My gut says that, and it's a question we've been debating ourselves, my gut says that it'll be pretty close. And the reason for that is that I think India-Pakistan match was a sheer historical match of tremendous proportions. And it got really actuated by the diplomatic initiatives that got attached to it. It kind of no longer remained a cricket match. It was an iconic event in an iconic event. And the reason I'm saying it that, you know, the India-Sri Lanka match could get close to that is because that is the World Cup final. And I think there is huge amount of euphoria, expectations that will the country be able to pick up the cup.
You're saying it'll get close to it, but you don't think it'll get breached?
I hope it gets breached, but I think on a realistic level, I think we'll be thrilled if it comes close to it.
Prove to me how confident you were about the way the tournament would play out, and tell me how much of your inventory did you keep for the later matches, which means semi-finals onwards, that is 3 matches.
Look,
in a percentage term, Manu.
I did say to you clearly when we met before the World Cup initiated that, you know, we were feeling extremely bullish about that. And we did believe that a tournament of such iconic proportions would create its own stature in the country. It's fair to say that, you know, in any tournament of this scale, you try and basically sell certain amount of inventory during the end.
Right.
And we had close to about, I would say, 7 to 10% of our inventory, which we had reserved for selling to the end, which frankly today has played out on a very positive side. So we are...
So now you wish in hindsight you had kept more?
No, look, I think you always take a business call. I mean, this thing could have gone the other way around. But yes, if I had more inventory, I would have been thrilled. But I think it's played to the strategy the team had. And one is, you know, very, very happy with it.
Okay. There are a lot of figures floating around. The early matches we heard about 3 lakh rupees per 10 seconds to 4 lakh rupees per 10 seconds. Then we heard quarters reached 15 and 18. Now we hear 24 and 25 lakhs per 10 seconds. Are you going to give me a figure, or at least tell me, give me a range within which we should understand what valuations cricket reached in this phenomenal World Cup?
I think during the later stage of the tournament, I think your numbers are near the ballpark. In some cases, it might be slightly higher than the numbers that you've given.
Going into the final, did it come to a stage where people were actually fighting against each other and maybe trying to outbid each other for the few spots that were remaining?
Yeah, I think we reached to a situation where there was a tremendous amount of interest. And, you know, there were people willing to commit the right amount of money to make sure that they were a part of history. And yes, it was good to see.
As careful as always, Manu Sawhney.
No, I think I won't be, I mean, maybe this World Cup also establishes the highest rate that a sport has ever got in the country.
What happens next for ESPN in India?
Oh, I think this is.
Tell us about the news channel.
Yeah, so we've got exciting things lined up. So we started with, I think the HD feed has been a fairly big success in terms of just the sheer quality of the content which has come through. We are really excited to launch ESPN News, which is a 24/7 sports news channel, which has done very well for us in the markets that we've launched. I mean, just in the 2 months in the market of Malaysia, you'll be surprised, Anuradha, that the total amount of reach has been greater than the reach of CNN, BBC, CNBC, and Bloomberg put together. And even in terms of your core target demographic, you've been able to get 40% more than collectively put together. So we're excited about that. We're looking at turning that model, you know, on its head. So rather than having general news 24/7, we are doing 24/7 sports news. and maybe at some stage we add some elements of general news and commercial news onto that, so that when you are half an hour of your time you've got on the treadmill or wherever it is, we can give you the complete news that you need.
So when does the service start?
It's going to be starting in the next few months. We're going to be launching it on certain platforms, and I think then we're going to get the traction on it. We are right now in discussions with certain players of launching ESPN Player, which is an extremely high-tech broadband service, giving you facilities of video on demand, giving you facilities of being able to watch multiple courts. I mean, the kind of response that came out during the whole Australian Open. I mean, just to give you an idea, you look at the English Premier League, right? Happens across 38 weeks, and we show 380 games. Just for the Australian Open, which was a 2-week tournament, we showcased 260 games. We were showcasing games from 13 courts. So the quantum of the extra content which we've been able to put through that is just enormous.
Okay, final question, Manu. When you put down that over $1 billion for the ICC tournament rights up to 2015, it was a very, very big amount. We are sort of at the halfway stage,
Yes.
3 more years to go. Give me a sense of how that investment is doing.
I think it's doing okay. I think it's doing in the sense that, it was, of course, an investment which we think would continue
Has
to add in
break-even
value.
happened?
I think the way to look at it is it's playing as per what we had anticipated. There were, of course, when we had bought the rights, IPL was not there, and that's definitely changed the dynamics of the game. But overall, I think it's a matter of working through with them, and we hope and we continuously work with ICC to try and see that we can continue to build value for it. There are some very interesting changes which are coming in format for or hopefully will come for the format in the 2015 World Cup, where we are looking at basically maybe a possibility of a 10-team format and round robin happening. So rather than having 14 teams playing like in this tournament, one of the possibilities being discussed most probably is looking at a 10-team format, which will be interesting.
All right. So you didn't answer my question, which is that where are you on that investment?
I think as far as that, we are on track on that investment.
It's always great fun interviewing you, Manu, and congratulations for this
Thank
is
you
a
so
great
much.
World Cup, and all the best.